Did you carry Mike?
Yeah, I mean a little bit. Yeah, like there was a point where I was just like, okay, he's not really engaging back, and so
that's what I expected, bro. You don't know exactly how it's gonna go, but I'm not shocked by it. Mike is 58, man. And
many professional boxers have strongly criticized everyone involved in the fight between Mike Tyson and Jake Paul after claims surfaced that it was scripted, calling it one of the biggest insults in boxing history, as matching a 27-year-old YouTuber against a retired legend more than twice his age already felt like a serious disrespect to the sport.
Looks like you ended up having to stick around for the main event, even if you didn't want to. You're still here. You don't watch any of it.
No, I watched a couple of rounds. I don't want to, Chris. I think one thing I'll say is
since it involved Iron Mike Tyson, many fans, and even some professionals were excited at first, simply because seeing him back in the ring is always special no matter the opponent, but a large part of the boxing community didn't support the idea, with fighters like Oscar de la Hoya, Canelo Alvarez, Anthony Joshua, and others calling it pointless and in poor taste, and in the end the event turned out even worse than expected, with the only real positive being that Tyson didn't get hurt or knocked out, while everything else, from Netflix's streaming issues to the fight itself and both fighters' performances, fell flat and left viewers disappointed.
Minute rounds, Tyson wanting to see more action. Waboto, Evander Holyfield, you get the gist.
And everybody was saying,
While the fight had already sparked plenty of criticism from boxing professionals, the news of a leaked script has created even more outrage, with many now openly calling out Jake Paul, Netflix, and even Mike Tyson for putting on what they see as a disgraceful show. And shortly after the match, when asked about the rumors, former world champion Andre Ward said he wasn't surprised at all, claiming he had already believed the fight was scripted regardless of how it ended.
I don't know how many people feel like I feel, but I appreciate Mike getting himself in shape.
He said it went exactly how he expected, adding that everyone already knew how it would likely play out, and he wasn't surprised at all, pointing out that Mike Tyson is 58 and facing someone in their mid-20s, so the outcome made sense, and while it didn't turn out badly, it easily could have, which is why people are now talking about a script, but the real question remains whether there actually was one, as the internet seems convinced. The fight itself raised doubts, and even Jake Paul has made comments that added to the speculation.
I don't know if he's tired or whatever, and I could just tell, his age was showing a little bit, and I just have so much respect for him. And
Tyson showed clear signs of his age at 58 as the younger opponent controlled much of the fight, with moments where Tyson seemed hurt and even bit down on his gloves, while in the later rounds Paul noticeably held back and chose not to go for a knockout, which many frustrated and uneasy fans in the crowd had been expecting.
Violence, war thing between us, like after he slapped me, I wanted to, be aggressive and take him down and knock him out and all that stuff, but
to his credit, Tyson made it to the end of the fight and held on to his pride, but fans were still disappointed, especially after Paul admitted he eased up in the final rounds, explaining that while he wanted to entertain the audience, he had no intention of seriously hurting a legendary opponent who didn't deserve unnecessary damage.
Kind of went away as the rounds went on. I truly believe in my skills and my ability and my power and the cruiserweight division.
He went on to say there was a moment when Tyson stopped really engaging, and it became clear his age was catching up with him as the fight went on, adding that when a fighter is just trying to survive, it's hard to keep things exciting no matter what people say. And after the bout, Matchroom Boxing CEO Eddie Hearn, who attended the event to support Katie Taylor despite not being keen on the Tyson vs Jake Paul matchup, also suggested that it felt like all sides had come together to put on a fight he personally didn't like seeing.
And Jake and MVP did an amazing job on the promotion. Netflix, everybody. What I saw, I hated to see, and I knew I'd hate to see it. But
the British promoter said that while the production of the event was well put together by Netflix, Jake Paul, MVP, Tyson, and everyone involved, what actually happened in the ring was something he didn't like at all, and rising Mayweather Promotions prospect Kermel Moton, who improved his record with another win and multiple knockouts, also weighed in, saying he had seen the leaked script before the fight even began and tweeted about it, while Shah Ali added that the fight unfolded exactly how he expected, noting he never thought Tyson would get knocked out due to the number of rounds and the heavier gloves, which reduced the chances of a finish, so the outcome felt predictable to him.
He might get hurt, so I think that's it's almost a perfect outcome.
Is that how you saw the fight playing out, or do you think there'd be a knockout?
Well, 2-minute rounds, 14-ounce gloves. There was definitely less chance of a knockout with that, so I was leaning to...
Tyson's health issues, including his recent ulcer flare-up, along with his age and stamina, had already raised concerns among fans, and the fight only confirmed those fears, with Andre Berto also speaking out about it, saying he was relieved it was over because he couldn't handle watching his hero go through that, adding that he appreciated Jake Paul showing restraint and not trying to seriously knock Tyson out, while reminding everyone that Tyson is nearly 60 and should now be left alone. Tyson didn't rule out stepping into the ring again, even exchanging words with Logan Paul, while rumors also began circulating about a possible exhibition match with Lennox Lewis, and meanwhile Terence Crawford, despite saying he respects and loves Tyson, criticized the performance harshly, saying Tyson was being given too much credit, pointing out that he looked out of form. Trained for a long time yet only threw 97 punches in the entire fight, though he also added that the most important thing was that Tyson left the ring without getting injured. Tyson appeared visibly exhausted during the fight, but he still refused to quit and managed to go the full distance, something he may see as a personal victory, while Devin Davis also took to Instagram to criticize Jake Paul over what he called a fiasco, writing in his caption that Jake was a bozo for stepping into the ring with Mike Tyson and not finishing the job, and at the same time he showed respect for Tyson by praising and celebrating him, even referring to it as a story of its own.
Whether you like it or not, it will never be another one. And I understand.
He said Tyson will always remain a legend no matter what and that no one like him will ever come again, adding that he understands him deeply and that all the noise around the fight doesn't really matter, while Shakur Stevenson also gave Jake Paul credit for showing restraint, saying it seemed like Paul had a good heart and wasn't trying to seriously hurt Tyson. And in the final moments of the bout, Paul even bowed to the former heavyweight champion as a sign of respect.
The bozo that shared the ring with Mike, you will hold bozo for this. You didn't get a job.
Tony Bellew called for fans to boycott Jake Paul's fights, urging people not to watch him until he faces opponents who are fully fit and healthy, criticizing the situation and saying everyone shares responsibility for supporting it, and warning that proper boxing figures involved with Paul should question themselves, while also expressing frustration that the whole thing has become sad to watch, as Paul continues to face fighters who are well past their prime and in the later stages of their careers, which has drawn heavy criticism throughout the boxing world. Jamal Herring also downplayed Jake Paul's boxing reputation and questioned his ambitions in the sport, saying people need to stop taking the situation seriously, pointing out that Paul was fighting a 58-year-old man he couldn't even put away despite weighing around 230 pounds, and contrasting that with fighters like Canelo Alvarez who compete at elite levels, adding that for him it has become more about entertainment than true competition because Jake Paul is simply able to sell any fight he gets involved in.
Gervonta Davis just posted that he would beat the brakes off for you if you guys fight.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be down. Let's run it. Like, I'll be super down. I don't know if Gervonta needs.
Boxing fans were left convinced that Jake Paul's highly anticipated fight with Mike Tyson was scripted after Paul's surprising post-fight admission, with the 8-round bout held at AT&T Stadium in Texas and streamed on Netflix, ending in a points victory for Paul with scores of 80-72, 79-73, and 79-73. And while many reacted to what they saw as Paul's display of sportsmanship, one fan on X summed up the growing suspicion by saying that some people would definitely believe the whole thing was staged.
Seemingly open for the taking on that timeline, and I believe that I can become a world champion. And
another fan claimed the fight was clearly scripted, pointing to Jake Paul bowing to Mike Tyson mid-fight as proof of a setup and saying Tyson appeared to hold back throughout, describing the event as a staged performance and criticizing Netflix for what they called a disappointing streaming debut and an attempt to profit off a 58-year-old boxing legend, while another viewer accused the event of exploiting Tyson just for hype and said he deserved better. Although these claims of a script were later dismissed, as the bout still officially ended with Jake Paul winning a decision in Texas in what was recorded as a professional fight, marking Tyson's return to that setting after nearly 2 decades. While many believed the former undisputed heavyweight champion still had enough power to pull off an upset, fans were ultimately disappointed as Iron Mike visibly showed his age in the ring and struggled to deal with Jake Paul's pace, with Paul having earlier made bold claims but failing to land anything truly decisive despite being the more active fighter throughout the bout, leaving the boxing audience unconvinced as he was awarded the win on the judges' scorecards of 80-72 from 2 judges and 79-73 from the third, and this all came amid online claims of a leaked script that added to the controversy, with many in the boxing community over the years repeatedly criticizing Jake Paul and accusing him of manipulating or fixing aspects of his fights.
Black venoms in my silhouette. Just watch the fear reappear in their eyes when I hit the set. Oh no, Tupac with Team Tyson was seldom seen. I am Mike.
Jake Paul previously faced accusations from fans of fight fixing after a supposed script for his bout with Tommy Fury was leaked online last year, but the document was later confirmed to be fake after it spread on social media, reportedly shared by Mike Perry, who was acting as a backup fighter for the event, and the alleged script outlined a round-by-round breakdown of how the fight was expected to go, even suggesting Paul would stop Tommy Fury in the 5th round, although there was no real evidence that any fixing took place and no suggestion that the actual fight was staged.
Did you feel Mike's power at all?
No.
He hit you with one, and you gave him the tongue.
Only because the crowd, got...
In the opening round, Tyson comes out showing brief flashes of his old style, moving forward with his classic bob and weave approach while Paul keeps his distance and circles carefully, landing a few clean jabs as his speed and movement give him the edge, while Tyson's timing looks slightly slower than in his prime. In round 2, Tyson starts to find his rhythm and cuts off the ring more effectively, landing a strong left hook to Paul's body that gets a big reaction from the crowd, but Paul responds by using his reach to keep Tyson at range with steady jabs, and as the round continues, the difference in stamina becomes noticeable, with Paul staying light on his feet while Tyson begins to show signs of fatigue in his breathing.
But it didn't actually hurt. But, no one's punches have really hurt. I got buzzed a little bit against Tommy Fury, but that's about it.
In round 3, Paul gains confidence, starting to plant his feet more. He lands a sharp right cross that momentarily stuns Tyson. The former champion responds with a vintage combination, but Paul slips most of it. The speed difference becomes more apparent as Paul begins finding his range with his jab. Tyson's legendary head movement starts to slow in the 4th round. Fatigue sets in for Tyson, though his punches still carry devastating power. Paul establishes his rhythm, landing increasingly clean shots. A particularly sharp right hand opens a cut above Tyson's left eye. The old champion balls forward, trying to close distance, but Paul's footwork keeps him just out of range. The tide is turning.
It didn't hurt. No, I was just off balance when Woodley hit me, but because I was throwing a check hook and I missed.
In the 5th and final round, Paul senses Tyson slowing down and steps up the pressure, landing a clean 3-punch combo that forces Tyson back toward the ropes, and as Tyson tries to slip away, Paul catches him perfectly with a strong right hand that lands flush on the chin, sending Tyson to the canvas, where the referee begins the count, but despite his fighting spirit he can't beat the 10 count, giving Jake Paul a knockout win in round 5. And even after the loss, Tyson later suggested he might still return to the ring again, even going as far as confronting Logan Paul and hinting at a possible future fight.
And then my chin was open, and then he hit me and I went boom, but it didn't hurt.
When asked who he might fight next, Iron Mike replied that he wasn't sure but joked about facing Logan Paul, which left Logan visibly stunned before he quickly dismissed the idea and fired back with a blunt insult, saying he would kill Tyson in the ring, while Tyson's tough defeat drained the energy from a packed AT&T Stadium where a massive crowd had turned up hoping to see him turn back time and defeat the internet star. But in the end his age and wear showed too strongly, and although Paul had moments where he eased off and didn't fully press the advantage against an older, vulnerable legend, he still controlled enough of the fight to come out on top.
Is this possibly the last time for you?
I don't think so.
You've got more in you. Who comes to mind?
Well, I don't know. Maybe.
When asked to assess Jake Paul's ability, Tyson admitted he was a very good fighter, but as the bout neared its end and his defeat became inevitable, many disappointed fans started leaving the stadium in large numbers, and by the time the final bell rang and both fighters shared an embrace, loud boos echoed through the venue as the crowd, who had come hoping to see their former hero defy age and expectations, were left disheartened, with many of the nearly packed audience feeling let down by what they believed was an underwhelming spectacle that may have always been headed toward that outcome.
You want to fight Logan? Logan, I think he said you might be next.
Motherfucker, I'll kill you, Mike.
No, please, no.
Throughout his fight with Jake Paul on Friday night, Mike Tyson was repeatedly seen biting his own gloves, an unusual habit that stood out during the Netflix broadcast and drew attention from ringside commentators Mauro Ranallo, Roy Jones Jr., and Rosie Perez, with Jones questioning whether Tyson might be having an issue with his mouthpiece, while Ranallo explained that it was actually a long-known habit Tyson has shown throughout his career. And later, when asked by Ariel Helwani after the fight, Tyson addressed the behavior and gave his explanation for why he was doing it. Tyson later explained that he has a habit of biting his gloves during fights, calling it a personal fixation, something that fans quickly linked back to his past, especially his infamous 1997 rematch with Evander Holyfield where he bit off part of Holyfield's ear, and while the fight with Jake Paul was expected by many to be a war, Tyson admitted Father Time had caught up with him, as he struggled to land meaningful power shots or fully impose his strength, while Paul kept his distance, stayed composed, and avoided giving Tyson openings to unleash his trademark power. And in the end, the main winner of the whole event, as many saw it, was Jake Paul himself, who successfully controlled the fight from start to finish. Mike Tyson, aged 58, and Jake Paul, 27, went the full distance in a fight that aimed to entertain fans, but Tyson ultimately left the arena with a loss as his record dropped, while Paul dominated the judges' scorecards with scores of 80-72 and 79-73 in his favor, and despite the major age difference, Tyson still showed brief flashes of his legendary ability, using experience and sharp combinations to take control in certain moments, while Paul used his youth, endurance, and unorthodox style to stay active and keep the fight competitive throughout. Tyson opened the fight with energy, using quick jabs while Paul stayed light on his feet, circling and trying to wear the veteran down, and both fighters had their moments early on as Tyson managed to land body shots and uppercuts that briefly echoed his prime, while Paul showed unexpected toughness by absorbing pressure and responding with steady counters, although frequent clinching from Paul slowed the pace and disrupted the flow of the fight, which appeared to work in his favor as Tyson began to look fatigued as early as the third round, struggling more to move forward and land his punches.
Yeah, right there, that really knocked Jake back. But then we see
Move over to your left so I can see the fighter.
right hand grazes.
To the returning legend. Nice body shot, Paul. 12 of 53, 23%.
Oh my God,
Tyson
he just
coming up in that fight with
The mouthpiece.
Paul gradually grew into the fight, building confidence as he used his jab to control the pace while staying at range and tagging Tyson consistently without needing to engage in close exchanges. And as the rounds went on, Tyson's movement became more restricted, with his legs looking less active and his overall output dropping, which left him unable to mount a strong response and ultimately led to him losing the fight by decision.
triple left hook.
Right there, and knocked Mike off balance 2 times. And Mike was threw a good right to the body. Pushed Mike off balance again because Mike wasn't ready for it.
He's turning into a boxer.
Yep. Oh, good shot by Mike.
And again, the left hook by Paul.
Despite those clear signs of decline, Tyson's ring IQ and ability to adjust still kept him competitive at different stages of the fight. And that wraps things up for now. Stay tuned for the latest updates, highlights, and major moments from the boxing world by subscribing to our YouTube channel and turning on notifications so you never miss any new content. Until next time, take care.